Hello students, welcome to the second part of third short chapter in analytics programming. We are going to cover functions, exception handling, and file handling. So let's start with function. So as you know, the function provides the reusability of the code. Okay, so we don't need to repeat the same instruction again and again. We can just uh, put it together in one package and we can call the package wherever we need. Okay, so it reduces the time, it reduces the efficiency. So in Python, how we will define a function by using the keyword reserved word def and the name of the function and what are the parameters that we need to process the function. Okay, and then inside the index, specific index, we will with the indentation specify the block. The block of that function definition will be there inside that. So let's look at the code. Okay, so def is the keyword, function name, parenthesis, colon, and then the block of the function definition will be here. Okay, so that is the syntax. So we can use function with or without parameter, with or without return statements. Okay, we will see a few examples with both. So here, the first example that you see here, it does not have any parameter. So let's first see with and without parameter. So this function is a very simple function which does not take any parameter, simply prints whatever is given inside this function. Okay. So if you call, this is function definition. So this function does not have any meaning until you call it, unless you call it. You have to call it to actually execute the function, or else it's simply taking some space, doesn't do anything. To activate the function, you have to call it. So we are calling the function by its name. Simple parenthesis, we are calling it by name. And when it is getting called, it will just do the job what is defined here. Okay, it will just print whatever is given inside the parenthesis. That is first part. Second thing, with parameter. Here, the same thing. Def is the keyword, mul is the function name. We are passing two parameters, and it does some operation which is given inside. It just do the multiplication, some arithmetic operation, and also it does the printing. So this is function definition with parameter. So if you do the calling, function calling, we are passing this parameter. So this 2 and 4 will be directly assigned. When you do the function calling, A will be assigned with 2 and D will be assigned with 4. Okay. So it will just get assign these values and then it will do this operation and also it will print. Okay. So we run this code then. So once I define it, I can call the function. You can see that it just print the value, okay, whatever is given inside the function definition that is getting executed. Next, we are going to see with or without return statement. So this shows the example for with return statement. So here we have the function named sum, which has one parameter and it has a return function. So the return is the keyword, whatever is processed, that will just return, the output will be returned with the return statement. So if I'm just processing it, I can call it anywhere. Here I'm calling it inside the print function. So this is the function calling with the parameter 3. So the 3 will be assigned with A. So A plus 5, 3 equal to 8. Okay, so 3 plus 5 equal to 8. So the value will get printed. So I can do multiple summation like this. So this is nested function calling. You're calling function here and then doing some arithmetic operation and they're passing this as part of the another sum function. So here you're doing multiple function calling with nested operation, nested arithmetic operation. So you can see that return, that also returns some value because 4 plus 5, 9, 9 plus, again, 5 plus 5, 10. So 9 plus 10, and again, it does the another summation. Okay. So the answer is 24. So next, there is one more example for the function definition. Here, you can see, you can combine the conditional branching, conditional statement along with the function. The function name is my function, which has 3 parameters. And then it has the conditional statements. If the z value is greater than 1, then it will print out this, or else it will print out the, since it has the return statement here, it will return whatever the value is passed here. You can see I didn't run it, so it doesn't. You can see 4 and 5. Okay, so if the z value is greater than 1, always it is, since it is static parameter, always z value is greater than 1. So this one will get selected and will get printed. Okay, so this is about the function, basic function definition. In the lab section, we will solve some real-time problems. The lecture is just to recall and review the basics. Okay, so next we are going to see some multi-function parameters. So here, you can look at the function definition. We have the add function with 2 parameters, but inside that you have a variable. So this variable is nothing but the function that we have defined here. So if you didn't run this function, then it will not work. You have to have this function definition to make it to work. So we are having another function inside another function definition. Okay, so here we have the main function. Inside the main function, you're calling add. And it is just a variable. Sum is just a variable. Here we have 2 functions, add function and main function. So inside the main function, we are calling this add function. Okay, so we're running this and then running this. So if you call the main, so which one you have to call, add or main? Actually, if you call main, since add is the part of the main function definition, if you call main, automatically it will call whatever is, it will call this add function. Okay, so it just wants 2 numbers, 1 and 2, then it will process that and will do the addition of floating point here for the pixel number and prompting 2 input and then doing the arithmetic operation on that. Okay, so this is multi-function parameter, passing another function inside another function calling. So you don't need to call the 2 functions. The last function, that is second function, you can internally call the first function as well. Okay, so that is multi-function parameter. So next thing we're going to see global and local parameter, global and local variable. Variable which is defined outside the function is called global variable. A variable which is defined and declared inside the scope, inside the function scope is called local scope or local variable. So let's look at the examples here. Here I have a variable, sum equal to 0. It is generally, it's not inside any function, so it is global variable. And then here I define a function called f, and the function has parameter and variable here. Okay, so this is the function declaration. So when I do the function calling, 100 will be assigned to x1, 200 will be assigned to x2. So when you return it, you run it and run it. So you can see 100 will be assigned to x1 and 200 and 300 will be returned. Okay, so this is local scope. And then here, when I try to print the sum, so you have function definition and you have called the function that got executed. So it is done, the scope is done. But when you call the sum again, you will not be able to access this. If you want to access the sum, you should call this f function. Without calling this function f, you cannot call this sum, okay, sum variable. So when you say sum variable, then it will fetch the global variable, which is defined, declared outside the scope. Okay, so this is called global scope and local scope. So this 300 is part of the local scope, and when it comes outside the local scope, when you call it outside the function calling, it will go and fetch the global variable, which is in global scope. Okay, so next we're going to see anonymous function. So the anonymous function is a function which does not need function declaration. A particular function name is not needed for the anonymous function. Mostly for lambda functions, we will use anonymous functions. For example, if you look at this, sum equal to lambda a1 a2 colon a1 plus a2. So here what we are doing, we are just doing some arithmetic operation with the input a1 and a2. So you can see inputs are here, colon, and operations is also here. Okay, we don't have any function definition, that keyword def and the function name, nothing is here. We have one single statement that includes function definition and function calling, not function calling, but function definition and parameter, everything is included here inside. Okay, so to do the function calling, we can simply call this variable name, the sum variable name, along with this A1 and A2. So you can simply call it like a function calling, passing the variable, passing the values of A1 and A2, that will return the value. Okay, so this is equivalent to defining the sum function and inside the indentation, defining it. Okay, inside defining it. The only thing that you have to remember about lambda function is it can take many parameters, but it will return only one output. Okay, that is the only thing, the restriction that you have to be aware of. Okay, lambda function can take any arguments, any number of arguments, depending on the operation, but it can just give only one result. So that result, you can look at that. The result will be always this, only one result that should be assigned to a variable. So that is called the anonymous function or anonymous function using lambda. So the next thing that we are going to see, exception handling. So what is exception handling? Exception handling is like predicting what kind of bug will appear and then just handling that bug without letting only the interpreter to handle the error. We are just predicting the error and then just avoiding the syntax error or any kind of logical error output. We are just avoiding it by using try exception handling. Okay, so it helps us to deal with the errors in an efficient way. Okay, so there are different types of errors for that. We can easily find out what is the error and what causes that particular error. For example, if the file is not found and you're asking to open a file and process a file, then it is called IO error. Syntax error, logical error, there are different types of errors for that. So let's see one example for exception handling. Okay, normally, as you know, anything divided by 0 is infinity. It is not a number. Okay, always it will throw some error like this. For example, A processing some input, getting some input, let's say that it is 50. So since the operation includes A divided by 0, that is 50 divided by 0, which is infinity, not a number. So it shows division by 0 error. So we can predict this kind of error before and we can handle it in an efficient way. For example, we are processing it and getting it. So when you predict that there could be some errors based on the input, then you can just put it inside the try. So there are two keywords that you have to be familiar, try, except. Try colon will just execute the statement, condition, whatever is given, just execute the statement. Except will deal with the error. Okay, so if A divided by 0, then it is called 0 division error. Okay, so which you can print like this, 0 division error. Let's say you cannot divide by 0. Instead of throwing this error like this, letting the interpreter to throw error like this, you can efficiently or beautifully handle it like this. So instead of showing this part, we can simply show that, see, you cannot divide this because it is anything you cannot divide by 0, else it will give you infinity. Okay, so like that we can just handle it in a more friendly manner. It's called exception handling. So the next thing that we are going to discuss is file operation. Okay, sorry, modules. How to handle with modules. Module is nothing but the library, packages, which has collection of built-in methods and properties. Okay, so for example, if you want to include all the methods that is related to mathematical, then you have to install math module. Okay, so module is nothing but the collection of package that does some operation. Okay, so to include that, you have to simply import the file. Okay, you have to include that particular function or the package. You have to simply do import and install. Okay, import and install. Import function is the function that will help us to import any kind of library packages. So you can either use the import keyword to import the external library, or we can create our own library packages. For example, here I have find max function. If you open it in the Visual Studio Code, find max function just takes some list. A list can have multiple elements. Just check it and then iterate through that. Whatever is the maximum value, it will just fetch that value and display the index. So that is find max. So we are going to, this is a package. Consider this as a package. Now we are going to call this package from the main module. So find max function, I'll show where it is located. So I have this find max function here. Okay, so this, I have defined the function and saved it as the function name .py. So that will be saved as a package. So I can call this function. If I am in the same folder, I can directly call this function. Okay, so I'm in the same folder. Within the same folder, I can simply import that find max function which I have defined as .py. So importing find max. Okay, normally how you will import the external library, external packages, like how you have imported sys, math, random, like that, you can simply import that function module that you have just defined. Okay, and then from the package, you're just calling the function name. Okay, calling the function name, and here you're creating a list variable and calling the function. This is function calling, and says no module. So I have just make sure I just put that find max function inside the same folder. So this is just when I put it in the same folder, I hope it should be okay now. So now you can see when I put the package inside the same folder in which I'm working on in this current file, it runs. It recognizes the file, it recognizes the module and runs it. Okay, so next we are going to discuss about, so the same, again, you are familiar with how to import the external library and how to work with that. Okay, so we are moving on to the next concept, how to read and write files. So file concept. Okay, so to open a file, like any other languages, it's simple. Just use the open function and pass the function name, it will open. If you want to write on the function, then parameter w will write. If you pass it, it will write, and then to close the function, file.close method. So we'll see what are the methods available in the function with few examples. Okay, for example, here, so I don't have the function. Let me put the function, the file inside code. So I just made sure this is the file that I'm going to call. So I'll just make sure it is there. So open is the function which will help us to open a file. I have to simply pass the file name here and save it in the file handler. So this is the file handling variable. So here you're creating a temporary variable and passing this. So whatever is there inside that, word by word, the for in the file handling will act like a sequence of lines. It will just take sequence of lines as take it like a single element. So it will just take each line and just run it. Okay, so the file, if you look at the file, you can see what you have in the file. Okay, so you can see line by line, it prints out when I gave it inside the for loop. Okay, I'm going to see how many words are there. Okay, to do that, again, file handler, open the function, initiating the counter, and we are just iterating through the file, and count will get incremented like this. You can see how many lines are there. 3 lines are there. Okay, so next we are going to see how to write in the function. Okay, so this we will the remaining step we will discuss in the lab exercise. Since it is just lecture, I'm going to show you some more simple examples, then we'll wrap up the lecture part. Okay, so here I'm going to write few more lines in the file. Okay, so opening the file by using open function w to write, and then adding few lines, and then the file handling dot write. So it's in Python, everything is object, right? So object dot method. The method is write. Okay, we are just passing these lines inside this write function and then closing it. Okay, so now if I run it, let me go and check in the file location. You can see it has added. Okay, so we'll see the file operation in detail in the lab section. So as of now, this is the end of this lecture part for the part 2 in chapter 3. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to explain the lab exercises, okay, which you're going to practice and submit. Thank you.